Hey everybody, Papa Wiggs here with Wiggs. Bright and early here, Sunday morning before the first London game of the NFL this year. We're going to talk about all the matchups real quick. So let's start off with the London game, the Vikings and the Jets. Wiggs took the Vikes, I took the Jets. Listen, it's not that I don't think the Vikings don't have a shot to win. It's on neutral territory. Aaron Rodgers always seems to, find a way to beat the Vikings. I don't know. They got to lose sometime, right? I don't know. Maybe not. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that Jefferson's. I don't know that he's going to have a great game. I think he's going to be double teamed quite a bit. He's going to have Sauce Gardner to deal with. I'm not convinced that Aaron Jones is going to have a huge game. I don't know. I just think this is going to be a close game. I don't, you know, but I could be wrong. The Vikings, who knows? I mean, maybe they'll come out and they'll stomp the Jets today. I mean, I didn't think they were going to beat the Texans the way they did, and they did. So I don't know. It could go anyway. But I'm just my prediction is that the Jets are going to end up winning this one, like 20-17. Um, and hopefully I'm wrong. But we'll see. So I think the keys to this game is the Vikings got to get the running game going. Um, to use the play action pass and get Jefferson going right away. If they can get Jefferson going right away at the start of the game and get him the ball, get into a rhythm with Sam Darnold, maybe he'll do okay and stuff. I also think they need to get Addison involved in this game. And then on the flip side, I think the Jets got to feed Brees Hall the ball. I think they need to give him the ball. They need to get him multiple screens, get the ball on the outside for him so he can get out in the open field, and they need to get some help for Garrett Wilson. So they need to get Mike Williams involved in this game and take advantage of his speed and take some shots down deep. I also think that Tyler Conklin could have a decent game here. So that's where I am with this, Wigs.
Yeah, honestly just strictly picked the Vikings off of just London statistics. Vikings 3-0 in London. Um,
Oh, now you just jinxed them.
Aaron Rodgers 0-1, and Aaron Rodgers' one loss was to Danny Dimes over in London. So he doesn't have success over there on neutral ground. I mean, it's only one game, but you're losing to someone like Daniel Jones at that point. But hopefully the Vikings come out and play today. We've seen Justin Jefferson have good games over in London. We saw Jalen Naylor have a good game a few years back. Had a touchdown on a few receptions. So these players have the experience overseas. So hopefully they come out and perform. Like you said, the Vikings need to get Aaron Jones going early. If they don't get him going, it's going to be a struggle because if you can't run the ball and get some play action going, it's going to be really hard against the Jets defense.
Yeah, and the other thing to watch is that I don't know. I heard that there's potential for some rain. So, to me, if it is raining and stuff, that could lean to the advantage of the Jets, especially given Darnold's history of fumbling and turning the ball over. I mean, the Vikings don't need him to have to go against the elements any more than he's going to have to. So, but with that takes us into the Bears and Panthers. This one's in Chicago. Um, listen, I went with the Bears on this one. I know Wiggs took the Panthers. I can see it going either way. This was a tough game to pick. Um, but I really do think that um, DJ Moore is going to have a really big game. Uh, you know, hopefully Caleb Williams can make sure he can get the ball to him and not miss him multiple times. I also think Swift has the is going to have a big game here against this Panthers defense. So I don't think it's going to be a crazy scoring game. I think it's going to be similar to the Vikings Jets game, like 2017. To me, the keys of this game is the Bears need to get Swift going, and Caleb Williams needs to be accurate. He needs to get his receivers the ball. So his accuracy needs to improve. If he can be accurate and get his receivers the ball, I think the Bears are going to come out on top. On the flip side, I think the Panthers, they need to make sure that they're feeding the ball to Hubbard and hopefully Hubbard can have some success. They also need to find a way to get Deontay Johnson involved in this game. It's going to be really tough though because Jalen Johnson for for the Bears is a really tough cornerback. So I give the edge to the Bears on this one, mostly because they're at home, and I'm hoping that Caleb can find that consistency today.
I went with the Panthers. I just really did that because of the quarterback situation. I feel like Andy Dalton is playing better already, and he's played in less games. I think he's found a way of utilizing Deontay Johnson that really the last few quarterbacks that Johnson's had haven't. So I'm hoping that continues here today because Deontay Johnson with the quarterback who's finding him is a really good wide receiver. So if they continue to find him like they have been, it'll be a fun game to watch, but it'll also be good for the Panthers. I also think that Chuba Hubbard's going to have another good game. He's come out these last few weeks and he's kind of tore it up there running the ball. I don't know if that's just because Andy Dalton's made it easier with all the passing and whatnot, but he's looked really good these last few weeks. So if he plays good here in this game as well, it's going to be a good outing there. Nothing against the Bears. I just think the Panthers right now are in a better spot offensively. I think defensively, obviously, you give the edge there to the Bears, but I think the Panthers will find a way to score and get it done at the end of the day. It wouldn't surprise me if the Panthers, at least from a fantasy perspective, had a good game because Caleb Williams, not the brightest with the ball. I could see him turning it over a little bit. And then, maybe a fumble or something. I don't know. It's Caleb Williams. You never know what you're going to get from him. One week, he'll throw for 90 yards. The next week, he might throw for over 300. So we'll see how that plays out. I think this will be a 24-17 game. I actually think both these first two games will be 24-17.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic than Wiggs is about Caleb Williams, so we'll see what happens. But I agree with what he said. I also think that there could be the opportunity the Bears defense get a couple turnovers as well as they've been playing this year. So that leads us into the Browns versus the Commanders. Listen, the Commanders, I think, are Wiggs. I think you'd agree, one of the surprise teams, as in record-wise,
Yep.
And stuff. So I don't think anybody was expecting that they would be at the top of their division right now after 4 weeks. The Browns, to me, are one of the more disappointing teams this year. They just can't seem to figure it out. They're having all kinds of issues on offense. They can't get the running game going. Deshaun's been really inconsistent. Their defense hasn't been playing, up to the level that they, were playing last year. So, to me, the keys to this game are: can the Browns get pressure on Jaden Daniels and fluster him? Nobody else has really been able to do that this year. He looks pretty, calm even when he's getting pressured. Can they keep him in the pocket and prevent him from running? I don't know. He moves around pretty good. Brian Robinson is supposed to be playing today. Eckler's supposed to be playing today. So the Commanders got all their weapons, back this week. I think that they're at home, so I think they're gonna end up winning this game. I think the offense is gonna keep growing and keep getting better. I feel like Robinson will have a decent game. McLaurin will have a good game. I think Daniels is going to have a good game. I haven't seen anything from the Browns defense that shows otherwise. On the flip side, if the Browns even want to have a chance in this game, Deshaun Watson needs to come out and actually play it like Deshaun Watson of old. He needs to get both Cooper and Judy involved in this game. and they need to get their run game going. Their run game has been atrocious this year, to say the least. They definitely are desperately needing Chubb to come back to see if he can kickstart that run game, because without that run game, they can't really do any play action. They're not effective, and let's be honest, Deshaun needs all the help he can get right now to get back on track. So I don't think this is going to be a crazy scoring game. I think it's going to be like 17-10 Commanders win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Commanders are one of those surprising teams here from this year. I never would have expected them to start off like this. Realistically, I was only expecting them to like finish better than the Giants in their division, and that was it. Like maybe 4 or 5 wins, and they've already hit 3. So I'm quite impressed. And Jaden Daniels has looked super composed in the pocket, and just in general, he's looked super composed. So excited to see what they do. I think they'll come out here and probably take this game 21-17, maybe even 21-10. Actually, I'm going to go with the 21-10 because Deshaun Watson has just looked dismal all year. So um, on the other side, I agree with you. The Browns need to get the running game going. Deshaun Watson needs to figure something out because he has just looked terrible. So
Yeah, I agree. So that leads us into the next game, the Dolphins versus the Patriots. This is in New England. Both of us took the Dolphins. Listen, Jared Mayo, the head coach of the Patriots, there's already talk that he's losing the locker room. This Patriots team has no identity right now. They can't get anything figured out. Their offensive line looks terrible. Brissett has looked bad, and a lot of that's on his offensive line because they can't give him protection. They're already switching running backs, and they're not starting Stevenson, and they're going to start Gibson. I'm nothing against Gibson. I mean, hopefully he does well and stuff like that. But they're just running into all kinds of issues right now. They are supposed to be getting Kendrick Bourne back, but I don't think it even really matters at this point because they do have other talented receivers. But they just can't get them the ball. They don't give their quarterback time to throw. They can't get their running game going. I think this is going to be a bounce back game for the Dolphins. I think they're going to get themselves back on track. I definitely feel like Tyreek Hill, they're going to find a way to get him the ball, and he's going to have a bounce back game and get back on track as well. If the Patriots want to have any chance at all at winning this game, they're going to need their defense to step up and get at least 2 or 3 turnovers and get their offense in somewhat decent field position so that they can hopefully maybe score. Obviously the Dolphins are playing with Huntley as their quarterback, but really, in all honesty, that may not even be a factor. I just think that this whole Patriots team right now is a mess. And I just don't really, even at home, I see the Dolphins coming out on top on this one. I think this is going to be like a 24-10 game.
yeah, and I think this will be lower scoring as well. I think you really touched on the Patriots really well. All I can say is they've looked dismal all year. The Dolphins haven't looked much better these last few weeks, but I think they'll bounce back and win this probably 14-10.
Yeah, so then the next game is the Jaguars versus the Colts. I think this is at Jacksonville, though. I think. So I'm pretty sure this is at Jacksonville. It's a home game. So with this one, my assessment on this one is, listen, the Colts got Joe Flacco going instead of Richardson, so I think that gives you know the Colts an opportunity here to do okay, because Richardson hasn't looked that great. I went with Jags because I feel like they're at home. This is going to be a bounce back game. They're on. I mean, hopefully this is going to be a kickstart game, I should say. They're 0-4. Hopefully they can jump back in and get a win here at home. I think in order for them to pull it out, they're definitely going to have a decent game from ETN. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to come on and have a good game. Hopefully Lawrence can hit him when he's open. and stuff. I also think that that their defense is going to play relatively decent. I think the Colts loss of Jonathan Taylor is going to be a big deal, bigger than people think. Nothing against Sermon. I think Sermon can have a good game, but he's not a Jonathan Taylor. So I think that's going to put the pressure on Flacco. Not that Flacco can't handle it, because he's proven he can. He did a great job last year. I just think that the Jags are going to come out. I don't think not by a lot. I think it's going to be like 14-13 here, and I'm giving them the advantage because they're at home. But if Flacco can light it up with Pittman again and get Pittman involved, and Sermon can have a decent game, that the Colts could definitely pull out a win.
Yeah, and the Colts really just need to get their running back involved early, get some confidence going with Sermon, because I think if they get the confidence going and he can have a decent game, I think he's going to be the X factor. Because like you said, he's no Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor was kind of the X factor on that team. So you got to get Sermon going, and you got to get Flacco going. But I have the Colts slightly edging them out 17-14. So
yeah, and that leads us into the Bills versus the Texans. This was another tough game. I mean, the Bills are coming off a tough loss against the Ravens. I think that one of the issues they're going to run into this week is the Texans defense is, they haven't been playing great, but I think they're going to bounce back at home. I think the way Shakir's been playing this year, it's going to be a big loss not having him in the starting lineup. The Bills definitely are going to need, either Coleman or Samuel or Scanling, one of those receivers to step up. Along with Kincaid to have a decent game. Obviously, James Cook is going to be actively involved in the offense as well. So, but with that said, I think the Texans are going to come out and hand the Bills their second loss here. I just don't think the Bills are going to be able to overcome the loss of Shakir. I think it's one less weapon on offense, which is kind of a big deal for them right now since they really don't have anybody standing out on their side. So I could see Cam Akers having a decent game here too, because the Bills struggle against the run. They're not going to have Mixon, but I think Cam Akers could have a breakout game here. I like C.J. Stroud. I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. I think he's going to come out and he's going to spread the ball around. And with them being at home, I give them the edge here. I think this one could be, with Josh Allen, you never know what's going to happen. But I do think this will be a little bit higher scoring. I think it could be like a 24-17 type game with the Texans coming out on top.
Yeah, I could totally see the Texans coming out and just playing good, but I could also see them coming out and struggling a little bit here. To me, it kind of just depends on how the run game is today for them. They haven't been that great without Mixon in there. It is a major impact not having Mixon in there, but if they can get that run game going behind Akers this week, I think that's just gonna help elevate them. If they struggle, I could see this being a little bit closer. With the run game being a little bit irrelevant, let's say probably a 24-20 win. I'm thinking if the run game kind of pops off this weekend, I'm thinking we maybe see like I don't know, like a 28-20 or a 31-20 type game. So
yeah, as hard as it is for me to pick against Josh Allen, I'm giving the Texans a little bit of an edge. But
if Josh Allen can go out there and find his go-to receiver this week and target him quite a bit, I could see this totally being closer. But I don't know. His receiving core to me, I'm not sold on just yet. Like I really like Coleman, but he's not, directing everything his way. Like not that he should do everything, but like he's not finding him as the guy yet, and I think he needs to because I think Coleman is kind of like Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jaguars. Like you need to get him the ball. He needs to be that number one guy.
That'll be an interesting game. So that leads us into our next game, the Ravens versus the Bengals. The Bengals are at home. Wiggs took the Bengals. I took the Ravens. Listen, the Ravens dominated the Bills last week. Uh, I like the fact that the Bengals offense is finding their mojo. You can obviously see that Chase and Burrow are connecting now. I think Higgins is going to get there as well. Personally, though, I just think that there's a lot of question marks with this Bengals defense. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a big game. I think Lamar's going to have a big game. It wouldn't surprise me if Mark Andrews comes out and has a big game. Zay Flowers. There's just too many question marks with this Bengals defense, and until this Bengals defense can step up and show me, that they're going to be, playing a lot better. Their offense is going to have to do a lot of scoring in order to win games. And I think that as good as Burrow is and Chase are, I think that this Ravens defense isn't anything to sniffle at. They're not the Ravens defense as old, but they still are right there in the middle of the pack. And I think their defense is going to do enough to slow down the Bengals. And I think the Bengals defense is going to have a tough time stopping Lamar in that run game of the Ravens. I don't think this is necessarily going to be a blowout like the Bills, but I do think that the Ravens are going to win by a touchdown, and I think it's going to be 27-20 type game.
Yeah, I just got this weird gut feeling that the Bengals are going to come on and win. That's the only reason I picked them. I really liked what I saw out of the Ravens last week, and I kind of expect them to do the same here this week because the Bengals defense, I think, is a little bit weaker than that Bills defense of last week. So I could totally see Lamar and Henry coming out and having a really good game running the ball. On the other side, I could totally see Chase just popping off in this game with Joe Burrow. I could see Chase Brown as well having a pretty solid game. Um, the Baltimore defense has shown they're vulnerable at times, so I could totally just see the Bengals coming out and scoring a lot of points here. I think this is going to be like a 35-31 game at the end of it all. It should. I think this will probably be one of the more entertaining games this week.
I agree. I just think that the Bengals need to figure out their defense because if they don't, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. That leads us into the next game, the Raiders versus the Broncos. This is up in Mile High. Man, the Raiders got all kinds of issues. I mean, they got just as many issues, I think, as the Patriots do right now. They can't get it going on offense. They're not going to be with Devontae Adams again for another week. Zamar White is out. Not that it really matters too much because he hasn't really been producing so far this year. That leaves them with, Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker and Bowers as their weapons, and Madison as their starting running back. Listen, I think they're going to struggle. This Broncos defense is really, they've been really stepping up so far this year. They've been firing on all cylinders. I think Surtain's going to shut down Jacoby Myers. I think the Madison isn't going to have a lot of success running the ball. I think Minshew's going to turn the ball over at least 2 or 3 times. That's just my prediction because I think he's going to try to force it. So I just don't feel really good about this Raiders team right now. Not to mention they got the whole distraction of the Devontae Adams saga going on right now in regards to whether they're going to trade him or not. And then on the flip side, I think Sean Payton, as much as I don't like the guy, has got the Broncos, playing a lot better than I think a lot of people thought they'd be playing. I think he found his guy in Bo Nix. Don't get me wrong, Bo Nix has made mistakes this year, but I think Sean Payton's gone into this year knowing that was going to happen. But he's also building this offense around Bo Nix's strengths. So they've been kind of a surprise, Wigs, to me, and I like what they're doing, on the offense. I mean, their defense has been great. I like what they're doing with Bo Nix, though. The Patriots could learn a lot from them by what the Broncos are doing with Nix. So I agree with what you said. I think it was yesterday with Sutton that Sutton could probably have a nice game here. So I know a lot of people that I've seen, a lot of these other experts are saying, they think Javonte Williams, could be a sleeper this game. I'm not so sure. Max Crosby's supposed to be playing. He's tough on the run. I think Bo Nix is going to be the X factor here. And I think that him and Sutton are going to have a good game together, and they're going to come out on top. I don't think it's going to be crazy scoring. I think it's going to be kind of a sloppy game, so to speak. So I'm saying 17-13 the Broncos.
Yeah, I've liked what the Broncos have done with Bo Nix personally on offense. I mean, they came out at the start of the year, had him throwing a ton, and he's not really slowed down. They've had to rely quite a bit on that passing game here because their run game kind of just blows most of the time. Like, it's a continuation of what it's been the last few years. They can't really get Williams going. McLaughlin's, still a nice change of pace, but he hasn't been able to get going much this year. So it's just it's hard to, for me at least, to pick them with. Both their running games suck right now. I'm gonna put that blunt, but it's just hard for me to pick them, um, in this one here. I want to say because of the running games, but both these teams, their running games are nowhere to be found most of the time. So, um, but I could see this going either way. I just went with the Raiders because I just wanted to be different on a few picks here this week, and this was one of the games where I'm like, oh, I could see this going either way. So, I think Crosby, like you said, is going to have a good game. I think this Raiders defense actually might play decent this week. I think they will end up getting like a turnover or two as well. So I'm kind of excited to see how it plays out. I think on the offensive side, Trey Tucker is going to be the receiver having the best success here because you have PS3 on Jacoby Myers this week. Um, that's just really going to leave Trey Tucker open. So I think Trey Tucker out of nowhere will take off, have a long touchdown, and I think that'll be the slight edge that I'll give the Raiders.
I hope you're right because the Raiders are one of the teams I thought were, one of my picks this year to be a surprise team, and they've actually went the other way and been really disappointing to me. So hopefully they can turn it around, but I don't know.
They need to get their run game going. So, it's not going to happen this week against the Broncos because the Broncos shut down Breece Hall last week, but you need to get that run game going, and it's a desperate need.
Yeah. Well, that leads us into the next game, the Cardinals against the 49ers. I definitely think this is going to be another game that could be a good game. I'm giving the edge of the 49ers here for a couple reasons. They're at home. They also, they got a strong running game even without McCaffrey. I think Mason's looked really good. They have all their weapons back, so I think Purdy's going to have he'll have a decent game against this tough Cardinals defense. I think he'll be able to spread the ball around. I think Debo has the potential of having a good game here. On the flip side, I think the Cardinals, again, I like what the Cardinals are doing. I think Murray's been playing okay. I think their biggest challenge right now is, who's going to step up like Wiggs said yesterday. Is it going to be Dortch? Is it going to be Wilson? On the opposite side of Harrison. Is McBride going to be able to play? First they said he was going to play. Now they got him questionable with his ribs. I don't know if he's gonna be playing or not. It sounds like it's going to be a game time decision. So I just think that there's too many question marks right now for me to pick them over the 49ers, especially with the 49ers defense, which I think will bounce back. Not bounce back, but I think we'll have a decent game here. I don't think this is going to be crazy high scoring because I think both of these defenses are gonna hold the other offense in check. I think it's going to be like maybe a 17-14 type game, and I give the edge to the 49ers.
Yeah, I am going to go the other route. I'm going to say this is probably like a 35 to like 17 or 35-20 win here for the 49ers. I just think even without McCaffrey in there that the 49ers have a lot more weapons on that offense. I think they have a slight edge on defense, and I think it's going to show here today. It is a divisional game, so maybe the Cardinals come out and surprise me and keep it close or come out and win, but I realistically think that the 49ers are going to win like 35-20 here.
Well, that leads us into our next game, the Giants first versus the Seahawks. I'm a little disappointed. We're not going to see Neighbors in this game. Obviously, we want him fully healthy. He's still dealing with a concussion, so he's not going to be in this game. So, given that he's not going to be in this game, to me gives the edge to the Seahawks definitely because they're at home with that tough home crowd. I think the Giants are going to struggle against the Seahawks' tough defense here. I think this game does have the potential to be a blowout because the Giants are going to be without Neighbors. Singletary is not going to be playing. I do think that Wendell Robinson has a chance of having a decent game, but I think that the Seahawks defense is going to fluster Danny Dimes, and he's going to end up throwing a few interceptions that are going to help out the Seahawks. On the flip side, I think the Seahawks are going to get Walker going in this game. I think that Metcalf could have a big game here. I think JSN has the possibility of having a decent game here as well. Geno's looked good so far this year. Again, the Seahawks to me are another one of the, surprising teams given that they had a brand new head coach and stuff like that. I think their defense has really stepped up. So I think this game has the potential to be, a 2-score win for the Seahawks, 24-10.
Let it be known, if Neighbors was playing, I was taking the Giants this week, but he is not playing, so I had to go with the Seahawks. Like you said, they're at home. They're really tough to play when they're at home. And I think Daniel Jones will struggle here quite a bit in this game because he's going to have to get the ball to Robinson, obviously. I think he's also going to have to get the ball to his tight end in Johnson. I think he'll actually probably have a decent game here. He hasn't been productive so far because Jones has really just been looking at Neighbors and Robinson, but he's going to have to throw the ball to Johnson today. I think Tyrone Tracy might have a pretty decent game. I'm not going to go off the wall saying he's going to have a crazy game. I would love that just to see what he does in a starting role, but time will tell as we watch this game here. I just think the Seahawks will come out. Like you said, I'm agreeing with the 2-score game there. So I'd be on the other side of things if Neighbors was in there. I think this would be like a 3-point win if Neighbors was in there, but he's not. So I do have to give that 2-score lead here to the Seahawks because it's going to be a struggle, I think, on the offensive side here for the Giants today.
Yeah, so that leads us into the next game, the Packers versus the Rams. This is in LA. Listen, we both picked Green Bay here. LA's defense has actually been playing, pretty decent this year. They haven't been playing, that bad. I just think the Rams have so many injuries right now that it's just going to be hard for them to move against this Green Bay Packers defense. They're going to need, in order, if they even have a shot, they need Kyren to have a big game. If Kyren has a huge game against the Packers, they got a shot. If the Packers hold Kyren in check, I just don't see any of these other receivers stepping up against this defense, and I think it's going to be a long day for LA. And on the flip side, I think the Packers, I believe they're going to have Love back now, and he's supposed to be starting again this game. I think he's in a lot better shape than he was last week. Yeah, they don't have Romeo Doubs because he was suspended, but they still have they have Reed. They have Dontavius Wicks. I think Melton has a shot to prove himself in this game. I do think Tyler Kraft has the opportunity to have a big game, but to me, the guy that's going to be the difference maker in this game is Josh Jacobs. I think Jacobs is going to have a big game here. He's going to take some of that pressure off of Love, because even though Love's going to be playing, I think he's probably around 95%, but he's probably still not going to be as mobile as he has been in the past. I do see Jalen Reed having a decent game here as well, and I think Wicks has the potential of getting at least one big play touchdown for 50, 60 yards. So I think that this game to me could be another one where it's a 2-score win for the Packers. I'm going to say, like maybe 30-17.
Yeah, I'm going to go 35 to probably 21 because Stafford, actually 35-24. Let's go with that. Stafford always seems to find guys and get scores even in tough situations. I think in this game we're going to see two Packer receivers over 100 yards. I think Reed and Wicks will both have over 100 yards and a touchdown in this game. I think Tucker Kraft's going to have a good game as well. Probably around 50-ish yards. I don't think he's going to go crazy like he did last week, but I can see him being at like the 52 and probably like 4 or 5 receptions there. I think Josh Jacobs will, have a decent game. I don't think he's going to go crazy, but I'd give him probably a good 80 yards with the touchdown as well. So for me, it's really just a matter of the Packers have more healthy weapons. If the Rams had Puka Nakua and um, Cooper Cup in there, I'd probably be swinging the other way because then that would free up Kyren a lot more than it's going to. Kyren, I think, is going to have a great game here. I think he's probably going to have a touchdown on over 100 yards combined. I think he'll be heavily involved in that passing game as well because you really only have Whittington. You do have, Robinson, but I don't know. The other guys, I mean, all the receivers really are inconsistent. You definitely need a big game out of Whittington this week, and you need Kyren to pop off like he has the last few weeks.
Yeah, so that leads us into the Sunday night game, the Cowboys versus the Steelers. You know, the Steelers are at home. I picked the Steelers because right now you just don't know which Cowboys team you're gonna get. Not to mention their defense is fighting multiple injuries right now. I believe Micah Parsons is out of this game. I think they also lost their other defensive line guy. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank, but
it's not Jones, is it?
No. But anyways, they lost a couple guys on defense. I think Fields is going to come out and have a good game. I think Najee Harris could have a really good game here. I think the Steelers defense is going to give Dak all they can handle in regards to getting pressure on him and forcing him to, maybe make some mistakes. Um, they do have CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee could have a decent game against the Steelers defense, but I think the problem they're going to run into is they can't get their running game going. It's struggled all year. I don't see their running game getting going against the Steelers defense today. I think the Steelers defense is not happy with the way they played last week against the Colts. I think they're going to bounce back and they're going to come out here fired up and force the Cowboys to end up having to pass the ball more than they want, and that's going to force Dak into making some mistakes. Um, I'll give the Cowboys, a chance to stay in this one. I'll say, it's only going to be maybe a one-score game. I'm thinking like 2013. But I think Fields is going to come out and he's going to have another good game, which is going to be the key factor here, and he's going to lead the Steelers to a win.
Yeah, and I think Najee Harris is going to have a really good game here today. He really doesn't have the competition that he's had in the past today. They're down to their fourth string running back as their RB2 today, so I expect a lot out of Harris. I think he's going to get probably a good 5 or 6 receptions. Probably a combined 120 yards or something like that. I think Fields is going to have a pretty solid game yet again. Nothing crazy like last week, obviously, but I think he's going to throw for over 200 yards. Probably have like 2 touchdowns throwing. I think they come out here and win this game probably 31-24.
And so that leads us into Monday Night Football. Hey, listen, we both picked the Saints, but my pick is with a caveat. If we get a decent game here where the officials aren't going to favor the Kansas City Chiefs like they have been all year, I think this is no contest. I think the Saints are going to win here. I think that the Chiefs losing Rice is a huge loss right now. They're going to need somebody else to step up, and unfortunately, they're going up against the Saints defense, who's one of the better defenses in the league right now. Even though the Chiefs are at home, I think Patty Mahomes is going to struggle this week. I don't think Kelsey's going to have a big game because obviously the Saints are going to be focusing a lot of their attention on him. If the Chiefs even have a shot of winning, they're going to need Worthy to step up. They're going to need Kareem Hunt to have a decent game here. Nothing against Hunt. I think he's a still pretty good at his age and stuff like that. I just think that this Saints defense is just going to be too much for them right now. Now again, with that said, I mean, who knows? I mean, the Chiefs are the new Patriots. The NFL loves the Chiefs. The refs have obviously been giving the Chiefs a lot of calls and a lot of no calls this year. I hate saying that because I don't want to go that way, but just go watch their first 4 games, and that's all the evidence that you need to see in regards to how they've been treated and stuff. I think Derek Carr is gonna spread the ball around, and I think Kamara could have a big game here. I think he'll have more receiving yards than rushing yards probably in this game because of Chris Jones, but I definitely think Kamara is going to be the X factor here. I could also see Olave maybe breaking out and having, because he has a tendency to have a couple really big games. This could be one of those big games this year. So I just think that overall the Saints have a better team, and even though they're on the road in Kansas City, they're going to come out, they're going to beat them. I think this will probably be like a 31-27 game.
Yeah, I have a feeling the Saints are going to come out and just play some really good football Monday night. I think they're going to get up by a decent amount early, which I think is going to force the Chiefs to throw the ball a little bit more, which I think they're going to struggle in general with because Worthy is going to need to rely on Kelsey to get him open. If Kelsey doesn't get him open, they're going to struggle. And then on top of it, I think the running back who's probably going to be most crucial in this game is going to be Pirine, just due to the fact that I think they're going to have to pass the ball quite a bit more here, and I feel like they like using Samaje a lot more in that passing game, and I don't think Kareem Hunt will be crazy involved in that passing game. That's actually my reason for kind of benching him this week as well. I don't think Kareem Hunt's going to go crazy. I think he'll probably be at like 8 points, something along those lines, because I don't think they're going to be running the ball a crazy amount in this game.
Yeah, so that's all the games. So Wiggs, before we go and everything, I thought maybe we could do a quick couple of studs, couple of duds this week. So I'll kick it off. Okay, so I think my first stud, I got to go with Brian Thomas Jr. with the Jaguars. I think he's going to have a breakout game against this. Not a breakout game, but I think he's going to have a big game against this Colts defense at home. And I'm hoping that maybe this will be a kickstart of Lawrence, getting him the ball and stuff. But I do see him with the potential of having definitely going to get over 100 yards and the potential of a multiple TD game here against the Colts.
Thinking stud, Keon Coleman. Let's go a little hot take. I'm gonna go with my start from this morning's video. Actually, I think Josh Allen's gonna have to find him quite a bit in this game. I don't think Curtis Samuel's the answer, even though they've come out and said they want to get him the ball. I don't think he's gonna be the answer. I think Keon Coleman's gonna end up being that wide receiver 1 here today. I'm gonna say he's gonna snag at least 6 or 7 receptions, probably have 89 yards, possible touchdown in the mix.
Okay, and then one of my other studs this week. This is kind of my hot take. I think Cam Akers is going to have over 100 yards against the Bills. I think the Bills have struggled really against the run this year. I think Cam Akers has the opportunity to bust off one long one, and then he's going to pound away, and he's going to have over 100 yards and a touchdown. That's my hot take this week. One more stud, Wiggs. Who do you think?
Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I like that one.
I think Daniels and him are finding a good connection. 7 receptions last week there for McLaurin. I think that's going to continue here this week. And I hope it does because those guys seem to like working together, and Jaden Daniels has been super impressive. So I just got to give Terry McLaurin a stud type factor this week.
All right, so dud. My first stud. I'm gonna go with my first. I'm gonna go with Alex Madison. You know what? I just don't think he's gonna have a big game against this Broncos team. I know a lot of people have been saying he's a sleeper. I think he's going to struggle. I think the Broncos are going to hold him in check. He hasn't shown me anything different this year that makes me think that he's going to come out and have a big game at all. So
Marvin Harrison Jr. I am going to go with a hot take myself here and say he is not going to have a good game. I'm thinking 3 or 4 receptions for 40 yards.
Wow. Okay. And then let's see. Another dud for me is Zach Moss for the Bengals. I know that might not be that big of a stretch, but I actually think that Chase Brown's actually going to have a bigger game than Zach Moss this week against this tough Ravens defense. I think Moss is going to struggle, and Brown's going to come out, and this may be the game where we see Brown start edging towards taking that starting position from Zach Moss.
Ooh, a second dud. That's tough. God, that is tough. I think Xavier Worthy. I think he might struggle here this week against the Saints defense. I think not having Rice in there is gonna make it harder for him to get open. And he's going to get a lot of the attention along with Kelsey. I think Kelsey will have a bigger game than Worthy here.
Okay. And then one last thing, Wiggs, which team do you think is going to be the surprise team this week on your end? Who do you think may end up coming out and be a surprise?
Honestly, probably the Raiders. I think they're going to somehow pull off this win. Maybe they'll prove us wrong. Maybe not having Devontae Adams won't be the worst case for them.
Yeah, my pick is the Jets. I think that they're going to be the surprise team this week. I think a lot of people are suspecting that the Vikings are probably going to dominate them. I think the Jets are going to come out and surprise everybody, and they're going to hand the Vikings their first loss. As tough as that is for me to say, I just think that they have the potential to be the surprise team this week. So. Well, great, Wiggs. Hey, we had a little bit of fun there. So, you got anything to add with the games, Wiggs?
No, just there could be a lot of upset potential. I think this week still. There's been a lot so far this year, so I'm kind of excited to see what upsets we get here.
Yeah, it's been really, it's not a clear cut to pick these winners and losers. Trust me, because you just never know. It's the NFL. At any given week, a team could come out and surprise. I mean, well, hell, look at what happened in the Thursday night game, with the Falcons and the Buccaneers.
500 yards from Kirk O'Chains right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's crazy. You just don't know which way it's going to go. So just a reminder, though, to everybody out there, keep an eye on those inactives and actives. Make sure that you're checking your lineups, because you just never know what's going to pop up during pregame warmups. I always like to remind everybody of that, because a lot of people go into the week, they set their lineup, they think, oh, I'm great. They don't go check before the first games. And then before you know it, you find yourself after the games start that one of your guys isn't playing because he got hurt in pregame warmups. You need to make sure you're checking the actives and inactives. Also remember, the Vikings-Jets game is early today. It starts at 8:30 Central because it's in London, so
30 minutes.
You got 30 minutes, so you better get if you got any guys on those teams, you better get them set in your lineup. So keep that in mind. And again, just make sure you're paying attention out there. And with that, check us out on Fantasy Fools PPR on YouTube. We're on Snapchat, X, TikTok, Instagram. Like, subscribe, share. If you got any lineup questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll definitely give you our thoughts. Any feedback's welcome. Hopefully you're finding us as another resource that you can go to for your fantasy football stuff. And with that, we'll leave you with this parting words as good luck this week, and we'll see you next time.